Have you ever stood by the edge of a river and marveled at its effortless flow? The way it twists and turns, navigating obstacles without hesitation, finding its way no matter the terrain. It's a powerful image, isn't it? What if I told you that your life is just like that river? Constantly moving, constantly flowing, always carrying you toward solutions, opportunities, and growth, even when it doesn't feel that way. But here's the thing. Many of us spend our days fighting against that flow. We resist, we doubt, we hold on to fears and negativity, and the harder we push upstream, the more exhausting life becomes. Have you ever had one of those days when nothing seems to go right, and it feels like you're wading against a current you can't escape? That's the effect of resistance, of trying to control life instead of trusting its natural flow. What if there's another way? What if, instead of struggling against the current, you let go and allowed yourself to align with the flow of life? This isn't just wishful thinking. It's a transformational mindset, one that can change how you experience every single day. Here's the beauty of this concept. It doesn't matter where you're starting from. You might be facing financial challenges, grappling with a health issue, or struggling with self-doubt. None of that stops the river of life from flowing forward. It's always moving toward solutions, toward improvement, and toward better days. The question is, are you moving with it? Let's pause for a moment and consider this. How do you know if you're moving with the flow or against it? The answer lies in how you feel. Your emotions are like a built-in GPS, guiding you every step of the way. When you're aligned with the flow, when you trust life and let go of resistance, you feel ease, peace, and even joy. But when you're paddling upstream, you'll feel stress, frustration, and tension. Think about it. Have you ever tried to solve a problem when you were overwhelmed or angry? How often did things get worse instead of better? Now, compare that to times when you felt calm, open, and optimistic. Solutions seemed to come naturally, didn't they? That's the power of emotional alignment. So, how do we align emotionally? It's simpler than you might think. Start by reaching for the best feeling thought available to you in the moment. You don't need to leap from despair to joy overnight. That's not realistic. But you can move incrementally. If you're feeling frustrated, maybe the next step is acknowledging that it's okay to feel that way. Then, you might remind yourself that this feeling will pass. Small shifts like these are what it takes to move downstream. Imagine you're holding onto a branch in the middle of a rushing river. Letting go might feel scary, but the moment you release that branch, the current carries you. That's what happens when you stop resisting and start trusting the process. Solutions, opportunities, and even happiness flow toward you. This is where the law of attraction comes into play. You've probably heard the phrase, like attracts like. It's not just about wishful thinking. It's about the energy you radiate. When you focus on what feels good, on what brings you joy, gratitude, or peace, you're signaling to the universe, this is what I want more of, and the universe responds. But let's be real. Life isn't always sunshine and rainbows. What about those tough moments when everything seems to go wrong? This is where the mindset shift becomes crucial. Even in the darkest times, the river is still flowing toward better outcomes. Your job is to trust it, even if you can't see the destination yet. Let's explore this idea of life as a flowing river a little deeper. You see, life has an inherent rhythm, a natural current that's always moving forward, whether we're aware of it or not. It's designed to take us where we need to go, yet most of us have learned to resist it, and we don't even realize we're doing it. Think about how this works in your day-to-day life. Have you ever been in a situation where you're so focused on what's not going well that you can't see anything else? Let's say you're having a hard time at work. Maybe a project didn't go as planned, or you're frustrated with a coworker. The more you dwell on those thoughts, replaying what went wrong, imagining all the worst-case scenarios, the more frustrated, anxious, or even hopeless you feel. What's happening here? You're turning upstream. You're focusing on what's wrong, and that focus acts like a paddle, pushing you against the natural current. The harder you focus on the problem, the harder you're working against the flow of life. And what happens when you fight the current of a river? You get exhausted, stuck. You might even feel like you're drowning under the weight of it all. Now, here's where the shift begins. What if you stop paddling so hard upstream? What if, instead of trying to control every outcome, you allowed yourself to trust that life is moving you toward a solution. It might sound counterintuitive at first, but the moment you let go of resistance, everything begins to change. Let's try this right now. Take a deep breath. Think about something in your life that's been bothering you, a challenge, a problem, or even just a small frustration. Now, instead of focusing on how bad or impossible it feels, ask yourself this. What's one slightly better thought I can reach for right now? Maybe it's something as simple as "this won't last forever," or "I'm doing the best I can right now." It doesn't have to be a giant leap, it just needs to feel a little better than where you are. That's the secret to emotional alignment. You're not forcing yourself to feel happy or pretending everything's perfect. You're simply softening the resistance and letting the current of life carry you forward. Here's why this works. Your emotions are like a compass, always pointing you in the direction of the flow. When you feel good, when you're calm, hopeful, or optimistic, you're in alignment. You're moving with the current, and life feels easier. Opportunities show up. Solutions appear, often in ways you didn't expect. But when you feel negative, when you're stressed, overwhelmed, or angry, you're moving upstream. That's your signal to pause, let go of resistance, and reach for a thought that feels just a little bit better. Now, let's talk about how this applies to action. We've been taught to believe that hard work and effort are the only ways to achieve success. Push harder, hustle more, don't stop until you get there. And while there's nothing wrong with effort, there's a big difference between inspired action and forced action. Inspired action is what happens when you're in alignment with the flow. Have you ever had a moment where an idea or solution just came to you out of nowhere? Maybe you were relaxing, enjoying a walk, or talking with a friend, and suddenly you knew exactly what to do. That's inspired action. It feels effortless, exciting, and natural, like the next step is being shown to you. On the other hand, forced action feels like a struggle. It's what happens when you're fighting the current, trying to make something happen even when it feels like nothing's working. You can feel the resistance in your body, the tension, the frustration, the exhaustion. And the results? They're rarely what you hoped for. Here's a personal story to illustrate this. A friend of mine, I'll call her Sarah, was struggling in her career. She was working long hours, trying to force herself to make progress, but no matter how hard she pushed, nothing seemed to change. She was frustrated, burned out, and convinced that things would never get better. One day, she decided to take a step back. Instead of forcing herself to figure it all out, she focused on feeling better, on finding small moments of joy and ease throughout her day. She spent time doing things she loved, even if it was just for a few minutes at a time. She went for walks, read books that inspired her, and gave herself permission to let go of the pressure she'd been carrying. And guess what happened? Within a few weeks, Sarah was offered a new opportunity, one that was better than anything she'd been chasing before. It felt like it came out of nowhere, but the truth is, she simply stopped resisting the flow. She aligned herself emotionally, and the solution showed up naturally. That's how life works. When you align with the flow, when you trust it, relax into it, and focus on feeling better, you open the door for solutions and opportunities to come to you. It's not about doing nothing, it's about doing the right things from a place of alignment. So here's the question. What's one area of your life where you've been paddling upstream? Maybe it's your job, your relationships, or even your health. Take a moment to acknowledge it, and then ask yourself, what's one thought or action that could help me let go of resistance and feel a little better right now? Remember, this isn't about fixing everything all at once. It's about taking small steps, shifting your focus, softening your thoughts, and trusting that the current of life is carrying you towards something better. Because it is. It always is. Now that we've explored the idea of emotional alignment and letting go of resistance, let's dive deeper into how this concept connects to something truly powerful. The energy you radiate and how it shapes your reality. This isn't just about feeling better in the moment. It's about transforming the way your life unfolds. Have you ever noticed that when you're in a bad mood, everything seems to go wrong? You stub your toes, spill your coffee, get stuck in traffic, and by the time the day is over, you feel like you've been cursed. But on days when you're feeling good, when you're optimistic and relaxed, it's like the universe works in your favor. The traffic lights turn green, people smile at you, and opportunities seem to pop up out of nowhere. Is it just coincidence? Not at all. This is the law of attraction in action. Whether you're aware of it or not, your energy, your vibration, attracts experiences that match it. Think of it like tuning into a radio station. If you want to hear music on 101 FM, but your dial is set to 88.3, you're not going to hear the music you want. Similarly, if your energy is tuned into stress, fear, or negativity, you'll hear and experience more of the same. But when you shift your vibration, when you focus on appreciation, joy, or even just relief, you align yourself with the flow of life, and the things you want naturally come to you. Now, this doesn't mean you have to feel happy all the time. That's unrealistic. Life happens. There will be challenges, setbacks, and moments that knock you off balance. The key is to recognize where your energy is and to gently guide yourself toward a better feeling place. Remember, it's about small shifts, not giant leaps. Let me give you an example. Imagine you've just had a disagreement with someone close to you. You're upset, frustrated, and maybe even a little hurt. At this point, your vibration is tuned into those emotions, and if you stay there, it's likely that more frustrations will follow. But instead of holding on to that energy, what if you paused and asked yourself, what's one thought that feels a little better right now? Maybe you remind yourself that disagreements happen in every relationship and that this moment doesn't define the whole connection. Or maybe you focus on something completely unrelated, something that makes you feel grateful, like the warmth of the sun or a favorite memory. The goal isn't to deny how you feel, but to soften the resistance. By doing this, you're moving downstream. You're tuning your energy to something more positive, and as a result, you're inviting better experiences into your life. This brings us to an important point. Your emotions are a reflection of your thoughts. If you're feeling negative, it's not because of your circumstances, it's because of the way you're thinking about them. This might be hard to accept at first, but it's also incredibly empowering. It means you have control over your experience of life. You may not be able to change what happens to you, but you can always change how you respond to it. Here's a practical way to apply this. Whenever you catch yourself spiraling into negative thoughts, pause and ask yourself two simple questions. How do I feel right now? What's one thought that feels slightly better? For example, let's say you're stressed about your finances. Your current thought might be, I'll never have enough money. That thought feels heavy, doesn't it? So, you look for a thought that feels just a little better, like I've gotten through tough times before, and I can do it again. Or, there are opportunities one haven't discovered yet. Even that small shift can begin to ease the resistance and move you into a better emotional state. Over time, these small shifts add up. As you focus more on thoughts that feel good, your energy changes. You begin to attract better circumstances, opportunities, and people into your life. It's not magic, it's the natural flow of life responding to the energy you're offering. Let's look at a real-life example of this. A man named John was deeply unhappy in his job. Every morning, he would wake up dreading the day ahead, and by the time he arrived at work, he was already exhausted from the negativity he'd been feeding. He wanted a new job, but no matter how hard he tried, nothing seemed to work out. He sent out resumes, went to interviews, and pushed himself harder, but the results were always disappointing. One day, a friend suggested he stop focusing so much on the problem and start focusing on how he wanted to feel instead. So, John began a new practice. Every morning, before he even got out of bed, he spent 5 minutes thinking about things he appreciated, simple things like the comfort of his bed, the sound of birds outside, or the hot coffee waiting for him. He also began to imagine what it would feel like to work at a job he loved, how excited he'd feel, how appreciated he'd be, and how fulfilling the work would be. Within weeks, something shifted. John felt lighter. He wasn't dragging himself through the day anymore, and his interviews began to feel more natural and confident. And then it happened. He was offered a position at a company he had admired for years. The job was better than anything he'd imagined, and it seemed to come out of nowhere. But the truth is, John had simply aligned his energy. By focusing on how he wanted to feel, he allowed the current of life to carry him to the perfect opportunity. This is the power of emotional alignment and the law of attraction. You don't have to force solutions. You don't have to control every detail. All you have to do is tune your energy to match what you want, and life will respond. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds great, but what if I'm in a really tough spot right now? How do I find better feeling thoughts when everything feels wrong? That's a fair question, and we're going to talk about that next, because even when life feels overwhelming, there are ways to shift your energy, ways to release resistance and start moving downstream again. When life feels overwhelming, when the challenges seem too big and the path forward feels unclear, it can be hard to imagine finding a better feeling thought. And that's okay. Growth doesn't come from denying how you feel. It comes from acknowledging your emotions and finding small, manageable steps to shift them. Here's something important to remember. Every emotion has value. Even the ones that feel unpleasant are there to guide you. Think of emotions as a spectrum. At one end, you have joy, love, and peace. At the other, you have fear, despair, and anger. The goal isn't to leap from one end to the other overnight. It's about moving step by step, emotion by emotion, toward a place that feels better. Let's use an example to illustrate this. Imagine you're feeling stuck in a place of deep sadness or hopelessness. It's tempting to think that you need to jump straight to happiness, but that's not realistic, and trying to force it can make you feel even worse. Instead, focus on the next step on the emotional spectrum. Maybe it's anger. Yes, anger. You might be thinking, wait, isn't anger a negative emotion? It can be, but it's also an important part of emotional momentum. If you've been feeling powerless or defeated, anger can actually be a step up. It means you're beginning to reclaim your sense of agency. From anger, you might move to frustration. From frustration, you might find hope. And from hope, you can eventually reach joy. Each step is progress. Let's break this down into a simple exercise you can do anytime you're feeling stuck. First, identify where you are emotionally. Be honest with yourself. There's no judgment here. Then ask yourself, what's the next emotion I can reach for that feels just a little better? You don't have to figure out the whole journey at once. Just focus on the next step. This process works because it aligns with the natural flow of life. You're not forcing yourself into a place you're not ready for. You're simply allowing yourself to move downstream, one thought, one feeling at a time. Now let's talk about resistance. Those moments when you feel like you're stuck in a loop of negativity. Maybe you've tried shifting your thoughts, but the doubts and fears keep creeping back in. That's resistance, and it's a normal part of the process. But here's the good news. Resistance doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you're human. The key to releasing resistance is awareness. Pay attention to the thoughts that keep you stuck. Maybe it's something like, I'll never get out of this situation, or things always go wrong for me. These thoughts feel heavy because they're not aligned with the flow of life. They're upstream thoughts, and they create tension in your body and mind. So, how do you let go? Start by questioning those thoughts. Ask yourself, is this really true? Often, you'll find that the answer is no, or at least not entirely. Then look for a thought that feels more open, like, I don't know how this will work out, but I trust that it will, or I've overcome challenges before and I can do it again. Even if you don't fully believe the new thought yet, it plants a seed. Over time, that seed grows and resistance begins to fade. Let me share another story with you. A woman named Maria had been struggling with her health for years. She'd tried everything, doctors, treatments, diets, but nothing seemed to work. She felt stuck and defeated. One day, she decided to try a different approach. Instead of focusing on what wasn't working, she began to focus on how she wanted to feel. Every morning, she spent a few minutes visualizing herself healthy, active, and full of energy. She didn't worry about how it would happen. She just focused on the feeling. At first, nothing seemed to change, but Maria kept going. She noticed small shifts, moments of energy, days when she felt a little better than usual. Over time, those moments grew. She found new treatments that resonated with her, and her health began to improve. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but it was real. And it all started with her decision to align her energy. Maria's story is a powerful reminder that change starts on the inside. When you shift your focus from the problem to the possibility, you open the door for solutions to flow into your life. It doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending everything is fine. It means choosing to trust the process even when the path isn't clear. Now let's address one of the biggest questions people have about this process. What if I don't see results right away? This is where patience and trust come into play. The flow of life is always moving toward better outcomes, but it moves at its own pace. Just because you can't see the changes yet doesn't mean they're not happening. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You trust that it will sprout in time. One way to build this trust is by celebrating small wins. Maybe you had a tough day, but you found one thought that made you feel a little better. Maybe you noticed a moment of synchronicity, a kind word from a stranger, or a situation that worked out unexpectedly. These small signs are proof that you're moving the right direction. Acknowledge them, appreciate them, and let them remind you that the flow is carrying you forward. Let's take a moment to reflect. Think about an area of your life where you've been feeling resistance. What's one small shift you can make today? Maybe it's choosing a slightly better thought. Maybe it's letting go of the need to control every outcome. Or maybe it's simply trusting that the current is carrying you towards something better, even if you can't see it yet. As we continue this journey, we'll explore even more ways to align with the flow of life, practical steps, mindset shifts, and habits that can transform the way you experience the world. Because when you learn to trust the flow, life becomes not just easier, but infinitely more fulfilling. Let's now explore the practical steps you can take every day to align with the flow of life and build emotional momentum. These aren't complicated or time-consuming practices, but they are powerful when done consistently. Think of them as tools to keep you moving downstream, even when challenges arise. One of the simplest yet most effective practices is starting your day with intention. The way you begin your morning sets the tone for everything that follows. If you wake up rushing, dreading the day, or focusing on problems, you're likely to carry that energy with you. But what if, instead, you spent the first few moments of your day aligning yourself with the flow? Here's how you can do it. Before you even get out of bed, take a moment to center yourself. Breathe deeply and think of 3 things you're grateful for. These don't have to be big things. It could be something as simple as the comfort of your bed, the warmth of sunlight streaming through your window, or the opportunity to start fresh. Gratitude shifts your focus away from what's lacking and toward what's abundant. It's like tuning your energy to a station that broadcasts positivity. Next, set an intention for the day. This isn't about creating a to-do list or setting rigid goals. It's about deciding how you want to feel and what kind of energy you want to bring to the day. Maybe your intention is to feel calm and focused, to approach challenges with patience, or to look for small moments of joy. Whatever it is, hold that intention in your mind for a few moments and let it guide you as you move through the day. Another powerful practice is what I like to call emotional resets. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how aligned you are in the morning, there will be moments that throw you off balance. Maybe it's a stressful email, an unexpected setback, or even a small annoyance like spilling your coffee. In those moments, it's easy to spiral into frustration or negativity. But with an emotional reset, you can quickly get back on track. Here's how it works. The moment you notice yourself feeling tense or upset, pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, how do I want to feel right now? This simple question shifts your focus from the problem to the solution. Then, look for a thought or action that can help you feel that way. Maybe it's stepping outside for some fresh air, taking a short break to listen to a song you love, or reminding yourself that this moment is temporary. The goal isn't to ignore the problem, but to approach it from a place of calm and clarity. Let's talk about another daily practice, visualization. Visualization is like giving your mind a map of where you want to go. It's a way of aligning your energy with the experiences you want to create. Here's a simple way to do it. Find a quiet moment, maybe in the morning or before bed, and close your eyes. Imagine yourself living the life you desire. Picture the details, the sights, the sounds, the feelings. How does it feel to be in that space? What emotions come up for you? The key to effective visualization isn't just seeing the image in your mind, it's feeling the emotions as if it's already real. Those feelings are what align you with the flow and attract the experiences you're visualizing. And remember, This isn't about forcing outcomes. It's about tuning your energy to match the life you want. One of the most overlooked yet transformative practices is celebrating small wins. We often focus so much on the big goals that we forget to acknowledge the progress we're making along the way. But every step forward, no matter how small, deserves recognition. Maybe you handled a stressful situation with more patience than usual. Maybe you found a moment of joy in an otherwise challenging day. These small wins are signs that you're moving downstream, and celebrating them reinforces your alignment. Here's a practical tip. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to reflect on what went well. Write it down if you can. It could be a gratitude journal or even just a list of 3 positive moments from the day. This practice trains your mind to look for the good, and over time, you'll start to notice more and more reasons to feel aligned and grateful. Now let's address one of the biggest challenges people face when trying to stay aligned: dealing with doubts and fears. Doubts often creep in when things don't seem to be happening as quickly as we'd like. Maybe you've been working toward a goal, but the results aren't showing up yet. In these moments, it's easy to question whether the process is working. Here's the truth: doubts are normal, but they don't have to derail you. The key is to acknowledge them without giving them power. When a doubt arises, treat it like a cloud passing through the sky. Notice it, but don't hold on to it. Remind yourself that just because you can't see progress doesn't mean it's not happening. The river is still flowing, even if you can't see where it's taking you. One way to quiet doubts is by focusing on what's already working in your life. What are the areas where you've seen progress or alignment? Even if it's something small, let it be a reminder that the flow of life is always moving in your favor. And remember, every step forward, no matter how small, is a sign that you're on the right path. Let's revisit the idea of the river. Imagine you're standing at the edge, watching the water flow. You don't see where it's going, but you trust that it's moving toward something greater. That's what life is like. The current is always carrying you forward, even when the destination isn't clear. Your job isn't to control the river, it's to trust it, to let go of resistance, and to align yourself with its flow. As we move toward the final part of this journey, I want you to reflect on everything we've covered so far, from recognizing resistance to aligning with better-feeling thoughts, from trusting the process to celebrating small wins. Each step brings you closer to the life you're meant to live. The final step is about integration, taking everything we've learned and applying it in a way that transforms not just your mindset, but your entire experience of life. Let's explore that next. As we arrive at the final part of this journey, it's time to bring everything together. What does it truly mean to embrace the flow of life? How can we take these ideas and integrate them into our daily routines, our relationships, and the way we navigate challenges? This is where transformation happens, not in the occasional moments of alignment, but in building a life that consistently reflects trust, ease, and flow. Let's start with a question. What does alignment look like for you? Take a moment to imagine your ideal day. Not just the big external achievements, but the way you feel as you move through the day. Are you calm and confident, energized and inspired? What kind of thoughts are you thinking? What kind of energy are you bringing to your interactions with others? This vision isn't just a daydream, it's a guide. It's your inner compass showing you what alignment feels like. The truth is, alignment doesn't mean that life is perfect or free of challenges. It means that no matter what's happening around you, you know how to return to your center. You know how to trust the flow, release resistance, and find the next best feeling thought. It's about building resilience, not by pushing harder, but by flowing smarter. One of the most powerful ways to integrate alignment into your life is by creating rituals that support it. These rituals don't have to be complicated or time-consuming. In fact, the simpler they are, the more likely you are to stick with them. Here are a few ideas. Start your day with gratitude and intention. Before you check your phone or dive into your to-do list, spend a few moments connecting with what feels good. Think of one thing you're grateful for, and one way you want to feel today. This small practice sets a positive tone for the day ahead. Use micromoments to realign throughout the day. Maybe it's taking a deep breath before a meeting, pausing to appreciate a beautiful view, or listening to a song that uplifts you. These moments might seem small, but they have a big impact over time. End your day with reflection. Take a few minutes before bed to review the day. What went well? What felt aligned? What could you release or improve? This isn't about judging yourself. It's about learning and growing. Now, let's talk about relationships. One of the most profound ways alignment shows up is in how you connect with others. When you're in the flow, you naturally bring a sense of calm, clarity, and positivity to your interactions. People feel it. They're drawn to it. And it creates a ripple effect, spreading alignment beyond yourself. But relationships can also be a source of resistance. Maybe you've experienced conflict, misunderstanding, or even heartbreak. In these moments, it's easy to fall into patterns of blame or defensiveness. But alignment offers a different approach. Instead of reacting to others from a place of resistance, ask yourself, what's the most aligned version of me in this situation? Maybe it's choosing compassion instead of anger. Maybe it's setting a boundary that protects your peace. Or maybe it's simply stepping back and allowing the other person to flow on their own path. Remember, alignment doesn't mean controlling others. It means staying true to your own flow while respecting theirs. This brings us to the ultimate question. How do you stay aligned when life feels overwhelming? The answer lies in trust. Trusting the flow of life doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It means you trust that those challenges are part of your growth. They're like rocks in the river. At first, they might seem like obstacles, but over time, the current smooths them out, revealing their purpose in shaping the flow. One of the most beautiful examples of this is nature itself. Think about how a tree grows. It doesn't resist the seasons, it flows with them. In winter, it rests. In spring, it blossoms. In summer, it thrives. And in autumn, it releases what no longer serves it. The tree doesn't question the process or try to control it. It trusts the flow, and in doing so, it fulfills its purpose effortlessly. You know different. When you trust the flow of life, you allow yourself to grow, to adapt, and to thrive. You don't have to figure everything out or control every detail. You just have to take the next aligned step and then the next, and the next. The river will carry you where you're meant to go. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. Alignment is a practice, not a destination. It's something you cultivate every day in small moments and simple choices. There will be times when you drift out of alignment, and that's okay. What matters is that you notice, adjust, and keep moving forward. So, as you step into the rest of your day, or the rest of your life, ask yourself, how can I embrace the flow right now? Maybe it's by letting go of a worry you've been holding on to. Maybe it's by choosing gratitude over frustration. Or maybe it's simply by trusting that life is always carrying you towards something better. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with someone who might need to hear this message today. And if you're ready to take this exploration even further, check out the previous video where we talked about insert title of previous video. It's a perfect complement to everything we've discussed here. Remember, you're always in the flow of life. Trust it, embrace it, and let it carry you to places beyond your imagination. Until next time,